I receive a lot of emails from married people suffering through the emotional destruction of an affair. A common source of pain and confusion is that the personality of the cheating partner seems to have changed. They're not the man or woman that they used to be. The affair seems to have caused a reversal in their attitudes, their beliefs, and their behavior. Kind people turn cruel. Considerate people turn selfish. Honest people become liars. Naturally enough, the betrayed partner wonders what's going on, and the question they ask me is, can limerence explain what's happened? Did that altered mental state of extreme infatuation cause the affair to happen? Is their partner not in their right mind? Well, limerence is certainly a factor in many affairs, but it isn't the cause. In this video, I'll analyse what's really going on. Hi, my name is Tom Bellamy. I'm a neuroscientist and a writer, and I blog all about limerence at livingwithlimerence.com. I'm also the author of the book Smitten, which explains what limerence is, how neuroscience can help us make sense of it, and how to recover from it. Okay, so why do limerence seem to undergo a personality transplant during affairs? Well, let's start with the most direct issue. Limerence does actually change the way we think and process emotions. It really is a different mental state that people feel themselves to be in. And once they're out of that state, they see the world very differently. So the neuroscience behind this is about arousal, reward, and behavioral addictions. Arousal leads to changes in our levels of excitement, energy, and cognitive speed. So we genuinely process thoughts more quickly when we're in a state of elevated arousal, although too much arousal can be as bad as too little when it comes to performance. Second, the hyper reward of limerence becomes the primary motivational drive, the single obsession that dominates thoughts and changes life priorities. So the commonest consequence of this change in mentality is that limerence come up with rationalizations about why it's okay to give in to their urgent subconscious impulses, even though they know they're at odds with their previous commitments. That causes the selective blindness, the rewriting of history, and the terrible judgment of what's been called affair fog. It's not a complete illusion or fabrication. Limerence are perceiving the world through different mental filters when they're high on the natural drug of limerence. Next, limerence also alters our emotional processing. Ordinary life is not usually characterized by bouts of thrilling exhilaration and crushing insecurity. Limerence destabilizes mood to a dramatic extent. Good times with a limerent object are blissful, bad times are agony. Emotional turmoil that strong is hard to cope with, and many limerents seek to cope with it by escaping from their everyday life. Unfortunately, given the nature of limerent affairs, their simple-minded calculation is this: when I'm with my limerent object, I feel high. When I'm with my partner, I feel guilty and ashamed. Unfortunately, that turns the partner into a source of discomfort and the limerent object into a source of joy. Easy to see how that could lead an unthinking limerent deeper into an affair. Okay, so limerence does alter the way that we think and feel. So is it right that limerents are suffering from a sort of delusional break that has made them behave irrationally? No. Once limerence has become established, they will have to deal with that altered state of thoughts and emotions, but the more pertinent question is, how did they get into that state in the first place? Answering that question will really reveal the basis of an affair. And that analysis has at least two levels. Why were they vulnerable to a limerent object's appeal? And why did they react to the onset of limerence by choosing infidelity? Now, all of us have weaknesses. All the aggregated disappointments, traumas, insults, and humiliations that life supplies us with will shape our insecurities. And similarly, our life experiences and the social milieu in which we grew up shapes the kinds of people that we respond most powerfully to with limerence. So the wrong combination of circumstances can then set us up for limerence. Meeting a limerent object that fires up our limerence circuits at a time when we have unmet needs and unexamined vulnerabilities catches us out. Maybe you've always been insecure about your romantic appeal and a love-bombing limerent object appears and captures you. Maybe you felt lost and lonely and so clung to a limerent object who offered direction and security. Maybe you met a limerent object who is struggling in their own life and you wanted desperately to rescue them, to devote yourself to them. Maybe you regret your marriage. Maybe your spouse is abusive. Maybe you've neglected your relationship for too long, at least the romantic aspects of it. Maybe you crave novelty. Maybe you just have bad character. We should probably acknowledge that one too. Some people just chase thrills regardless of the consequences and they don't really care about the harm they cause. Finally, maybe the affair partner, the limerent object, set out to seduce you. They offered temptation. They deliberately cultivated limerence because they like the ego validation of poaching married people. There are lots of factors that can cause limerence to flare up. And as an individual limerent, it's likely that you don't really understand how all of those psychological nudges mounted up until you gave in. But you did give in. Limerence isn't a delusional state like schizophrenia where you can't process reality. You can still understand what's happening even through the intoxication. You made the choices that led to the critical decision to embark on an affair rather than address the problems in your marriage. So why do some people resist temptation but others don't? Well, a big part of the reason is a lack of purpose in their choices. Drifting through life is an invitation to allow other people to determine your fate. When your life is passive, events surprise you. Your psychological vulnerabilities remain unexamined. Your choices seem almost a mystery to yourself. You may feel strong impulses or desires, but not understand where they come from or how to manage them. That sort of life is the perfect setup for a limerent affair. Someone new and exciting comes along who can help you escape from a stifling routine or go back in time emotionally or reinvent yourself or rediscover the thrills of romantic connection. It's not until later that the cost comes due and the scale of the harm caused becomes clear. So the way to avoid this trap is to focus on living with purpose. Your life should be a project that you take charge of. People with a clear sense of purpose are far less likely to be vulnerable to sudden life shocks like limerence. They'll be more self-aware, more reflective. If a new, delightful, exhilarating person dances into their lives, they notice, of course, but they notice that they've noticed. Rather than simply responding instinctively and being led by the nose by temptation, purposeful people take heed of how their emotions are influencing them. They are clear-sighted about what they want and they're aware when their subconscious drives are rocking the boat. That doesn't mean that they're immune to limerence. It just means that when the limerence starts to stir, they recognize what it means. When that limerence runs counter to their purpose, they resist it. They feel the temptation but care more about their true goals than about the false promise of a siren song. And it's a lot easier to resist at that very early stage than when your mind is turning somersaults in a state of romantic intoxication. Limerence contributes to affairs, but the chance of succumbing is decided long before the limerence begins. Socrates said that the unexamined life is not worth living. Part of the reason why is because it makes you the victim of circumstances rather than the captain of your own fate. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I think you'll also enjoy this one about why some people can be so addictive. That's it for now. Thanks a lot for watching. Subscribe if you'd like more. I'll see you next time.